I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurrundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, it's Steph here from the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a books beside my bed video for you all where I wrap up the last 7 days worth of reading. Before we jump into all the books and all the stats for this week, I did want to mention that Strapsicle, which are the Kindle straps that I use, and I have new ones. You might have seen my TikTok video in which I had a lot of fun with the song that has been stuck in my head all week since I got my new Kindle straps. They are now available on Amazon and there is a discount, which I will leave the link to where you can purchase them on Amazon down below. So if you didn't purchase one with my code, which is still available and you can use on their website, you can actually now purchase these through Amazon, which I think is a great option for this small business. So yes, I now have 3 colors and a total of 6 straps, and I usually only use one, so now I can just change them out when I feel like it. Also, before I forget, members, if you would like to receive a Christmas or a holiday card from me this year, please go and check the community posts for the link where you can sign up for that. I'll be closing that sort of midweek just because I need time to write out the cards and then post them, especially the ones that are going international. So if you haven't already signed up for that as members, you definitely can. All right, this is my reading week from the 12th until the 18th of November. I read a total of 11 things, 6 of which I'm going to talk about in this video. The rest are manga that I'm going to talk about at the end of the month, and I read a total of 2,842 pages this week. I'm existing in the space of permanently exhausted pigeon from now until the end of the year, so how we go each week is anybody's guess, and this week was no exception. The first thing that I read this week was the Heart2Heart Volume 3 anthology. This is a collection of queer MM short stories that all center around this app called Heart2Heart, which is a queer dating app, but the owners get this idea to branch out into classified ads where people can put out their things that they need or things they need assistance with and have members of their community come and help them. So each story in this collection actually starts off with the classified ad that is connected with that story. And all of the stories are bookended by one story by Eden Finley, which is about a queer guy who inherits his uncle's house after he passes away from cancer, and he hasn't seen or spoken to his uncle in many years. He knew his uncle was gay, and when he gets to the house and it's huge and it has so much to pack up and pass on, but then he discovers his uncle's drag collection, and it is the story of this guy really unpacking his feelings on being queer, the fact that his family didn't really accept him, but his uncle always did, even though he never saw him, and this connection to community and this exploration of drag as well. So you start the story with the first part of that short story, and then the entire collection is completed with the end of that story, which I thought was really nice to have it bookend the anthology. And then there are a lot of stories in there that I absolutely love. There were some that were not my favorite. I mean, it's an anthology, so that pretty much happens all the time, but a really great collection overall. I had a lot of fun reading it. And I did read that for the Chance Card anthology, which was one of my very first roles. Then I read Forevermore by Alex Grayson, which is Ever Book 1. This book was selected because it was a novella and it was one of the prompts on Unicorn Lane, which is one of Heather's cards. And this is a slice of life story about 2 friends who meet when they're 6 and 7 years old. The hero stands up for the heroine from bullies in primary school, and then they just grow up together and they basically spend their life together. It's a childhood friends to lovers story. They're never separated, so they just literally grow up and end up married and having kids. It does end on a cliffhanger, and the only reason I'm not going to be continuing this series is because I know that this is going to go horribly wrong, because I was reading it the whole time going, this is a perfect life, so something bad is going to happen, and I know that something bad happens in the second book, and I don't need to go there because I'm pretty sure the second book is not a romance. So yes, this was great just to read it. It's super short, beautiful writing, like great concept, and really nice to see just a wholesome relationship develop, and the couple stays together, but I know bad things are going to happen, so we're just going to leave it here. I also read Dark Planet Falling by Anna Carvin. This, I forgot to write down the series name. It's the second book in this series and I loved it. It was so much fun. I read it for Ava's Alien Avenue prompt to read an alien story. This was an alien romance. You have Prince Zal, who is on Earth, and he has brought his soldiers to Earth and is basically negotiating sort of with this United Alliance of people. And they all believe that his race are only there to try and take control and to rule Earth, which is not at all what they want. Zal is in exile from his home planet. His soldiers are in exile from there as well, and they are looking for a new place to call home and also to find mates. And they have realized that human women are compatible with them. Their entire race is dying out because literally they haven't been able to have children for a very long time. The heroine in the story, Sarah, is a journalist and she's quite nosy. She comes from quite a prominent family, but she tries to distance herself from them for reasons. She ends up barging her way into the house where Zal and his soldiers are staying, and he is instantly intrigued by her because she's take no nonsense. She is determined to find out the truth, and then she publishes an article that is quite scathing of them, and then he recruits her basically to prove that they're not on Earth for nefarious purposes. He wants her to document exactly what they do, especially when another group from their home planet comes to Earth and threatens to destroy the Earth. There are some things in here to be aware of, such as the fact that Zal did have a child and that child was killed, so be aware of that going into it. It's all historical off page, it's just mentioned, it's not actually something that you see. I had a lot of fun with this story, like I sped through it and it was just nice to go back and read a sci-fi romance like this. I have not read one in a while and I just thoroughly enjoyed myself. Then I finally picked up Rafe by Rebekah Weatherspoon, which is Loose Ends book 1, and this was for Tracy's Marvel Drive prompt to read a story with a single parent. So the single parent in this is the heroine, Sloane. She has 2 6-year-old twin daughters who are a handful, and at the very start of the book she comes home to find them on their own because their nanny has up and left and just gone, no, I'm done. And so she is in desperate need to find a new nanny for them because she is a very prominent surgeon. She is working a lot and she needs someone there for her kids. And it just so happens that through some friends of friends, she finds Rafe. He's been a nanny for a long time. He loves it, but he's not sure if that's what he wants to do for the rest of his life. However, when he meets Sloane, there is this instant connection and attraction between the two of them. And he admits that right up front because he's going to be the live-in nanny and he doesn't want her to feel uncomfortable and he wants to give her an out, basically. But they make it work. He is an absolute cinnamon roll of a hero who just adores Sloane and adores her kids and does everything to make sure that they are okay. And it is gorgeous and it is fluffy. And despite the fact that she has an absolutely terrible ex who gaslights her and is just shocking, Rafe is just there for her and it is never a source of conflict. It is fluffy and fun and just, it was perfect for midweek reading. Then I read The Longing of Lone Wolves by Lana. This is book 1 in the Fae Guardians series. It finally arrived because this was the book that I picked for the buy a book square way back before the month even started. And I utterly adored this. First of all, this book is gorgeous because inside it features artwork and illustrations all the way through the book of characters, of places, of things that are going on, and I just absolutely loved it. I will be collecting the rest of the series in these hardbacks. But this is about Rush, who is a Fae Guardian who is also a wolf shifter. And I was trying to categorize this book. I was going to call it fantasy romance, but I don't technically think it is because all of the characters are still on Earth, but it is way, way in the future after the humans have basically destroyed the Earth and magic has risen back up and sort of the Fae Guardians and the magic community has risen up and taken control and suddenly humans are the enemy. So paranormal romance-ish, but slightly towards the more fantasy end, I suppose. But Rush, as I said, is a Fae Guardian. He is in exile and he has been cursed so that no one can see him and he can't communicate with anyone. He can't touch anything. He just sort of, he still exists in the world, sort of never to be remembered. And then he stumbles across this human woman who has woken up in the middle of a lake. And she has no idea where she is. She has no idea about this time because it turns out she is not from this time and she comes from a time that is before, and she remembers basically the destruction of humans ruling the earth. And she's also a seer, so she has some connection to magic which humans shouldn't have according to the rules of this place. She can see Rush, and so together they strike up this deal after, he kidnaps her, and they end up traveling back to where the Fae Guardians live, and she's trying to find a way to break Rush's curse. There's also a whole lot of other things going on in terms of the fact that Rush is a wolf shifter and he was the heir apparent to his father's wolf pack, but his father was killed and his uncle took control, and so that also is not great. And this book is basically The Witcher meets what I wanted A Court of Thorns and Roses to be based on the very first few chapters of, Feyre meeting sort of the Fey Wolves. Like, it combines both of those things and was absolutely delightful. I had a great time reading it. It was longer than I was hoping it was going to be, but I sped through it and I had the best time. So yes, I will be continuing this series at some point in the near future. Stay tuned. And then I also finally read A Prayer for the Crown Shire by Becky Chambers, which is the second book in the Monk and Robot series, and it is just stunning. This is a 2-book novella series and it is just gorgeous. I read this for the prompt to start an anticipated read, and we are back with sibling Dex and Moscap, the robot, and this time they are traveling into the towns and allowing Moscap to ask his question of what do humans need? And Moscap gets back surprising responses from people and is trying to learn how to categorize them and to understand if that question is a good question. The most important part of this and any of Becky Chambers' books is the relationship between the characters, and the relationship between Dex and Moscap is just so fascinating because they are friends, they are traveling companions, they are exploring these ideas of what it means to be alive, what it means to be worthy of love, what family means and found family means, and it is just glorious and heartwarming and just the perfect afternoon cozy read. I absolutely loved it. I need to get a physical copy for my shelves so that I have the set because it was just beautiful. All right, so those are the books that I've read, and I have done 8 more rolls, which may or may not be the last lot of rolls that I do. I'm hoping that I'll still do a few more in next week's books beside my bed video, but we shall see how we go. So yes, cut to roll number 1. All right, so it is that time again. We're going to do some more rolls. I have my blue dice. So last time we played, we were on members choose. Time for another roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Paperback place. So that is Robin's card. 2, chronic illness or disability rep. Roll number 1 was Paperback Place, which is Robin's card, and the specific prompt was to read a book with chronic illness or disability representation. I'm actually going to do a reread just because I think I need to do a reread, and that's going to be With You Forever by Chloe Lisa. This is Rooney and Axel's book. It is one of my 2 favourite books in the series, and I'm going to reread it so I can annotate it because I didn't have the physical copy the first time that I read it, so I'm very excited about this. Next roll, 8. Chance card. Pink. Roll number 2 was a chance card and the prompt was pink. So for this I have selected All Together by Brill Harper. To be honest, I picked it because it was pretty much the first book with pink on the front cover in my unread folder on my Kindle, which means I've had it for absolutely ages. I don't know anything about it. It's a contemporary romance and it's got pink on the cover. 11. So we're back on Illiana Andrews Avenue. That's Kirsty's card. For anyone who hasn't seen the previous ones, I think I've rolled her card every week, which is great. So that's the prompts. And we got 4, Shifter. The next roll landed me on Illiana Andrews Avenue, which is Kirsty's card, and the specific prompt was Shifter. And for this, I'm going to read the second book in the Fae Guardian series. It's upside down, which I don't have, but it is called The Solace of Sharp Claws. I'm probably not going to order the physical book to read it on. I'm probably just going to read it on my Kindle, and then I'm going to order some of the other books a little bit later on. 4. Another chance card. Sports romance. Okay, the next prompt was another chance card, and this was to read a sports romance, and I have gone with A Whole New Ball Game by Lauren K. McKellar, I think. Yes, Lauren K. McKellar. This is a women's AFL sports romance story, I think. I don't know anything about it. We'll see how it goes. 11. Members choose. Read a sequel. Then I landed on a members choose card, and this was Illiana's prompt to read a sequel. And for this, I'm going to read Solitary Sinners by Elle Thorpe, which is the second book in the St. View Prison series. This is a trilogy, so I want to try and get through these books relatively quickly so I get through that arc so that I can read the other series, because I keep seeing it come up on my TikTok feed and I just want to get back to that other series too. 2, 2. Excellent. I need an audiobook. I also landed on an audiobook square, which is really important because next weekend I will be traveling and I'm going to read Princess and the Scoundrel by Beth Revis, which is the Star Wars book. I actually have the physical book, but I'm not going to be able to read the physical book in the car. So I'm going to listen to the audiobook, which I also have. Also, the Star Wars audiobooks are always fantastic. One chance. Lots of chance cards this week. New to me author. Then I landed on another chance square, which is great. And this was to read a new to me author, and I'm finally putting a Kathleen Kelly book on my TBR, and that is Powerful. It is a novella in the Driven series, I believe, but I'm pretty sure you can read it as a standalone. As I've said many times, Kathleen Kelly was one of my favourite authors to talk to when I was at Books Insight Melbourne. I thought she was just absolutely hilarious, and I keep forgetting to put her on this TBR whenever a prompt like this comes up, but now I'm doing it, so she's a new to me author, and I'm going to read this one. 12. Where is I? Action Avenue again. So this one is Bree's card, which makes me do things. Okay, so Action Avenue, which I've got to find. Two, read the third book you have borrowed from KU. And then the final roll for this week was Action Avenue, which is one of Bree's squares, and the specific prompt was to read the third book borrowed out on KU. Now I've taken this to mean the third oldest book that I have sitting on my KU rather than third from the top based on most recent borrows. If she didn't mean that, sorry, but that's how I'm interpreting it. And for this, I'm going to read Killing Sarai by J.A. Redmersky, which is a book that Megan had recommended to me and I haven't had a chance to get to it yet. So I am going to try and read it before the month is out. So that is everything for this week. Books and new prompts, and I'm very excited because I actually have time to read this weekend, which is so nice. I'm looking forward to it. I would love to know if you've read any of the books that I have read this week, or if you're planning on picking any of them up. You're also very welcome to tell me about something else that you have been reading that you would love to share. I'd love to hear about it. And if you want to let me know that you're here but you don't want to leave a comment, feel free to leave any kind of tree emoji down below. I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.